We are back with Real Talk Houston with Carlotta B. We are here in Real Talk Houston Studios. We're back for season 2. We are now at episode 13. So you guys know normally I only do 10 episodes per season, but due to the election series, that kind of propelled us into some additional episodes for this particular season, okay? So we're going to do episode 13, and we're going to have one more season finale. So you guys definitely don't want to miss the season finale. It's going to be something very different, exciting, and it's going to be off-site. So we will not be in the studios, but you definitely do not want to miss the finale, okay? Today's episode is sponsored by the Divine Esthetician, okay? You can find her on Instagram at the Divine Esthetician, and she specializes in waxing, full body waxing for men and women, and she also does eyelash extensions. So that is her specialty. She's really great, and you guys can reach out to her once again on Instagram at the Divine Esthetician, okay? So today we have a very special guest in the house. A lot of people have been asking for this particular episode. I had to put it off, but it is now here. So many people are being attacked from hackers. There's a lot going on in the internet world, on the World Wide Web, and we definitely need help with this issue. So today we have Richard Dunn here, and let me give you guys all of his accolades. Okay, Richard works for Gulf Coast Regional Blood Center, and he is a certified information security manager. He's also a certified firewall engineer. He is a Cisco network engineer. He is a Microsoft server administrator. And if that isn't enough, Richard is also a Gulf War vet who served in the U.S. Army, and he has top secret security clearance. So, welcome, 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 Richard Dunn, everybody. Yes, thank you so much for coming. This is an episode that we need desperately. This particular issue is touching so many people. So we're going to take and embrace the information that you're giving us today, because we definitely need to understand what is happening in the cybersecurity world. Today we're going to talk about how to minimize and or eliminate personal and business security vulnerabilities, because we're not sure or we do not know how to protect ourselves. This could become, and it already is, a major issue. Okay? So my first question is, in a nutshell, what is cybersecurity? Let's just start there.
Okay, well, cybersecurity, in a nutshell, is actually protecting your digital or electronic assets,
Okay.
records, devices,
Okay.
anything that you feel is a business asset.
Okay.
And if it's in a home environment, protecting your home network,
Your network.
files or personal, critical things is very important to have cybersecurity. It's kind of hard to talk about cybersecurity and not think about ransomware, because it's a big thing now that's going on.
Okay, so we hear that term a lot, and there's so many people and companies that are getting hacked these days, and we're going to talk about the differences a little bit later between ransomware, virus protection, and all the different types of protections that we can get, because we need to know what the differences are between the two. Okay, so a lot of people are getting hacked, companies are getting hacked, individuals are getting hacked, and as I was mentioning to you before the show, this actually happened to me not too long ago, so this also hits home with me as well, along with everyone else that's out there. So just a quick blurb on what happened to me. I received an email to my main account saying that my password had been changed, and I didn't change my password, right? So that meant that the person had infiltrated my email and was seeing all of my emails in my account, and therefore proceeded to try to get into the accounts that were associated with my name by trying to use that same password that they got into my email with. So so this hits home with me as well. So this is personal for me too. But why are so many companies and people getting hacked? I mean, what's happening?
Human psychology. One of the top ways that companies are being hacked is weak passwords.
Weak passwords.
Weak
okay.
passwords are
of the employees, or
employees, and on the administrative side, where
okay.
servers are configured.
Okay.
Some companies are still operating off of older technology. So if they have a system that was built 5 years ago or back,
okay.
it may have been configured with a password that now is easy for a hacker to figure out or guess.
Okay.
Because they're so advanced now with the hacking.
They are.
That they have so many different methods and tools to be able to figure out passwords that have not been changed in a certain amount of time, or if they're what used to be a standard good way to create a password used to be a capital letter or number at the beginning of the password, then 6 characters, and then maybe a character or a dollar sign,
a special character,
or something.
right?
Yeah, and so now that's one of the easiest methods for a hacker to figure out.
Okay, but so we're talking about a company server, though.
Even on the company level, you have servers that are not being patched correctly.
Okay.
That's another
patched correctly.
Yeah, server patching.
Okay.
Companies are not on top of that. They tend to have automated systems in place now. It used to be manual processes where someone was physically responsible for making sure that this server was patched at this time on this day.
A person,
a physical person.
Okay.
Now, just like any other industry, there's not as many personnel or staff to do those things. So you have one person that might be the email administrator. He's probably the firewall administrator. He's the server administrator.
Yeah.
So there are gaps, in your security when that happens. And so if that person is not up to speed or just well-rounded enough that where he can stay on top of things like that, hackers are up 24/7.
Yes, they are.
And so, like, what may have happened in your situation was that they don't really have to have your password from your device directly, but if you use that password to connect somewhere else that might not be locked down and secured,
like in the past or somewhere else,
password gets stored in a database.
Okay.
And so, once they scan that database or whatever, they may be able to get your password.
Wow. Okay. So the problem lies, take a company, for example, and I hate to call names, T-Mobile, but I received an email from them too saying there was a data breach. Your information has been, that happened maybe last year.
Right.
But so you're telling me it's something in the company's server. So they no longer have one individual that's locking down and securing and managing and observing and monitoring these servers, right? Everything is kind of automated.
Most things
but
are
they
automated.
Okay. And that's probably part of the problem.
Yeah, it is, because now what's happening is cyber insurance companies are requiring that companies actually build a security operations center that's a command center with security analysts on site and monitoring 24/7 because hackers don't sleep. And so while we're sleeping,
they're up working.
They're doing their thing. So if you have someone that can actually keep an eye on things and notice a difference in like the network, it might start lagging or something. That's an alarm. And so, but if you have an automated system, and it sends it may send a trigger or a notification, but if no one responds or sees it, so there's a lot of that thing. Now on the T-Mobile level, when you start looking at that level of breach, that's a high level. So you have Sony has been breached at that level. Equifax. TJ Maxx, the Department of Defense. I mean, that's different level from like a local home system.
And it's so alarming, though. These companies are huge. You talk about the DoD, Equifax. These are, I mean, that's unacceptable.
They have high-end security practices in place, but hackers are they're just they more
They're so advanced.
Right.
Oh my God. So there's different elements to cybersecurity. There's information technology, there's security, there's network security.
Right.
What's the difference between information technology and security network or network security? What are the differences there?
The cybersecurity, in the area of cybersecurity, there's actually 4 critical, essential areas. Email security is one. Internal security, and then you have intrusion and detection, and then backup and recovery.
Okay.
And so, and all of those on the email security, that's where you're gonna have you got to ensure that you're using like a spam email web filter.
Okay.
You can't just allow your end users, if you have a company, or even if you have like just an email system at home, and if a lot of people are working remotely. So if you're connecting to your email server at work and everything, you need to be going through what's called a VPN tunnel.
Yeah.
It used to be that we could just connect directly to the internet.
Right.
You can check your mail, and if you had a remote desktop client, you can connect to your desktop at work and everything. Well, all of those are red flags now, because hackers are actually piggybacking off of those types of connections. And so while you're just logging in, if you're not going through a VPN tunnel or a virtual private network, they're connecting to you as you're connecting to the company, and they're in.
Piggybacking off of you.
So email security requires you to be on top of your not click on attachments.
Yeah,
Any attachments that come in that you don't recognize, you don't need to click on it. So that forces you to have to educate anyone that works on your team or in your company. Don't be clicking on email attachments, because email phishing is a big thing.
It is.
End users are being tricked. First, the number one thing that's happening now is that people are falling for the "you won something free" email. And that's a trick that a hacker has put out there, and people are clicking on it. And as soon as you click on that, it may have you put in your whatever,
some information that allows them to get access.
But while you're putting that in there, they've not only breached your privacy, whatever system you've connected to, they're doing a lateral move and just looking around. So email security is big. And then your internal security, that's where you're going to make sure that you're using multi-factor authentication.
Yes.
That's what you get when you try to log into your bank site. They always send you a code.
Yes.
If you notice, when you try to connect to your bank from any type of client or even on a laptop, they send you a code to your phone. You have to verify that it's you. That's called multi-factor authentication. Today, insurance companies won't even write a cyber policy if your company is not utilizing that. That type of setup or system. And on internal security, you definitely need to be catching all the spam you can that's coming in and blacklisting it, marking it as spam. And that's on the back end and on the front end. Like on the back end side, that would be where the IT team is taking care of it. They're catching whatever they can, but things still slip through.
Yes.
And so once it make it to the desktop, you as an end user, even on the home network, like if you're on Yahoo or Google, they have a spam option where you can mark something as spam and move it.
Yes, they do.
Move it over there, and that's kind of another way to try to manage hackers, because if you click on something that is spam and they get into your system, they can do some damage.
This is true. So what happens when you mark something as spam? Does
Once
Google
you mark
or
spam,
Yahoo do anything with that?
Well, what they do, it builds a catalog on the Google, Yahoo side. Where it's actually, entered into a database, and along with whoever else is sending spam there and everything. And then they'll be able to start to filter it. And then on your intrusion and detection, you got to be getting notifications that something abnormal just happened on your network.
If
If you don't get that, then you need to reconfigure your system in a way to where you are getting that, like at 2 o'clock in the morning while you're sleeping. That's when hackers like to work.
Yes.
And so if you're leaving your computer on at home or at work, you would want it to be able to trigger you if something is not right.
Is it good to turn your computers off at night? Does that help
That
try
does.
to protect us, or does that matter at all?
No, it matters.
Just turn it off.
It's a good idea to turn your computer off at night. It's a good idea to, if you're going to be leaving for longer than the standard work day, 8 hours a week, during the day, if you're traveling or whatever, to shut the router down.
Okay, turn the router off altogether.
Yeah, just shut the router down.
Isn't that another way that they can try to get into your
They
internet by trying to figure out your router?
When you get
password?
your router, that's exactly right. When the router comes packaged from AT&T, it has a key, a SID address on it, and a key. A hacker knows that. A hacker knows that most people don't go in and change the SID name.
Right.
I looked at when I was here waiting on you, not to say waiting on you in front of your audience, but while I was
well, thanks, guys. He was like an hour early. Okay.
I intentionally checked to see how many access points I could find here that was unsecured in this building.
Okay.
And there's 8.
8 unsecured networks in the building.
8 in this building. Now there are a lot of businesses in this building, but there's 8 unsecured networks. So this will be a hacker's playground.
Wow. Mine is secured though, right?
Yours is secured.
Okay.
That's really why I was checking it, because
you making sure.
I was gonna make sure. So a hacker could come in this building and you got several floors, several companies that are secured, but they could use the unsecured network to travel around and just see what they can get into. And,
right.
And most systems that get hacked and companies, it's over 200 days before they even realize that somebody's on your network.
That's a long time.
That's a long time for someone to be in your system. And
over
doing
200 days.
And so, so it's real.
Yeah, it's real. So you mentioned email as one of the elements of cybersecurity. So there are also hackers that are going into, they know people are looking for jobs, right? So they're also sending bogus and fraudulent emails in places like Indeed or some of the job websites. Right. They're trying to get your information that way.
Right.
Oh, we want to hire you, $20 an hour, and you enter your information. Oh, I got a job. Right. And then that's another way they're getting your information.
Yeah, they know that one of the places where you put a lot of your information is on your resume or somewhere that might be interested in, offering you a job.
Correct.
So you give a lot of information to those types of systems.
That's right.
And believe it or not, social networking is another avenue hackers scan around and play around with, because people put a lot of information out on social networking, especially if they're traveling out of town or something.
Right.
You'll see people saying, I'm in Italy or wherever.
Right.
And if a hacker is out there and he's going, okay, I know that person's in Italy.
They're gone.
Then if they know enough about you or your business, they may target your system while you're away just to see if you may have shut it down or may have left it on.
Right.
There's just a lot of things that
they know they have time to do it. Especially, I was always told that's one of the things a lot of people, they want to post, I'm enjoying myself, I'm in, Europe or London, but for people with bad intentions, that's just the wrong thing to do.
Then I failed to mention that you also have to make sure you're backing up everything.
Okay. You
have to have a real good backup of all of your files. Your configurations and everything, because if you do get hacked, it could force you to have to rebuild your infrastructure.
Yeah.
And if that happens and you don't have good backups, you stand to lose everything that you had before the hack. Especially if
that would be bad.
Especially if it's a malicious attack.
Right.
So.
Okay. Ooh, that's terrible. Password changes. Does it help to change your password?
Yes.
How often? How often should we all change our passwords?
Well, if you have a company, you need to have a password policy in place that forces change, and that needs to be like 60 days.
Yeah.
Every 60 days, and that policy also need to have guidelines like 12 alphanumeric characters where it's being hashed.
Right.
We call that password hashing, where it's almost like an encryption basically.
Right.
And so that's something that needs to be done on a company level, on an end user level. You just need to be changing your password on a rotation. It could be monthly, it could be weekly, however you decide to do it, but you do need to change your password often.
Okay,
on
a
home system.
Do you recommend every 30 days just to be safe?
Or
what's your recommendation for individuals?
My recommendation would be 30 to 60 days.
Okay.
Because you're going into bank accounts and different things.
Exactly.
And stuff, and so,
Exactly.
And as I stated earlier, you never know when someone maybe
has infiltrated you. Right. What about those packages where they claim that it's a password single sign-on? Well, the programs that can give you one password and it applies to whichever accounts you specify.
Yeah,
is that
single
good
sign-on,
or bad?
Yeah, single sign-on is okay. Those are good, but because if you are doing the multi-factor authentication that I mentioned earlier, that works alongside of the single sign-on. So it still requires a second level of security.
Okay.
And so those are fine. Those are okay.
Okay, so that's good. Is there one? Does any one come to mind? So in case anyone is out there.
There is one out there. I don't like to endorse too many people, but there's one called Okta Verify out there that's highly used.
Verify.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And it's not so complex to configure. Microsoft has something within their Office 365 suite.
Okay.
If you're using Office 365, which the majority of the world, is using it. So that's something that can be configured, and there's a few more out there.
Okay, so that is something. Okay, because a lot of people have a plethora of accounts, and it's hard to because they all expire. Some of them expire at different times, or you have to go change each one. Even if you change them every 30 days, you got to change 10, 15 passwords, now, and it can become cumbersome.
The biggest mistake we're making when it comes to passwords is that we're sharing the password. That's how businesses are also being breached. You can go into an environment, and the next time you're in a store, just look at the register.
Okay.
And the cashier is sitting there.
Okay.
And you'll see a sticker or something there, and there's a password on it. And you can tell it's a password because you just look at it, and you can tell that that's a password. Sometimes they'll even put PW, and then there'll be something under it. And of course that's at a store, but the cash register now is not the buttons in the drawer.
Yeah.
It's a computer.
Right.
And if you look closely, you'll notice most of them are Windows computers.
Right.
So if I was a hacker checking out of the store, and I'll look at that password, and I'll go home and I decide I want to see if I can get into Walmart. I might be able to.
Yeah, because it's right there.
So it's the same in businesses. If you go into from department to department, and just walk the department, often you will find that there's one end user or staff somewhere in the building that's written their password because they can't remember it themselves.
Right, and it's just written down somewhere.
And they might write it down, and they may stick it under the keyboard or anywhere.
Oh my God!
Those are the things that are ways that companies are being breached.
Right. So, scary. Oh my God! So you mentioned earlier intrusion detection, and there's also a term called intrusion prevention.
Right.
What is the difference between the two?
They could be application-based or appliance-based.
Okay.
Hardware device, basically.
Okay.
And they are different because the intrusion detection system's job is to actually notify you that something's trying to breach your network.
Okay, good.
So it's just an alert or a notification system or an alarm system to make you aware that something's, beating on your perimeter, trying to get in.
Right.
And that's its sole purpose.
Okay.
So you do have to keep it up to date with what's happening in the cyber network or the vulnerability threat landscape. So that thing has to stay configured correctly and patched and updated.
Yeah.
And the intrusion protection system's job is to, in the event that there is something that can get by your firewall or anything else, then its job is to quarantine it, catch it, stop it, create an event log, and a way for you to do some forensics on it later, and figure out where it came from, what it is, what the intent of it, what was it, what were they trying to do, and it's just to protect you, but the detection system is gonna notify you that something's happening out there.
Okay, so that's good, and that's something that most companies have, though, right?
Well, no, most companies will have something to allow them to know that something is happening, but those things, depending on the size of your company, can be expensive.
Right.
So some companies will have one and rely on the one.
Yeah.
And then try to use manpower to, do the other part.
Yeah. Okay. Got it. Got it.
And I've worked in an environment where instead of us having a system like an intrusion detection system, I was on a team of 4, and we had a 24/7 on-call rotation where we watched everything. Right. So if something didn't look right, we sent the notification, and that was 7 days a week, 24/7. So so there some companies are just now starting to get in the game with that type of setup, because it's hard to stay on top of it with people.
It really is. So. And that kind of leads into my next question. What hackers are so aggressive. They're very advanced. It's hard to stay ahead, especially individuals. Companies can probably do a better job, but as far as individuals, it's hard to stay ahead of the hackers. Inflation is at an all-time high, right? We're seeing that all over the news. Do you think that the panic and the fear and inflation and the uncertainty and people sitting at home because of COVID, does all those things contribute to the increase in intelligence of these hackers?
It does, because hackers know, just like when the pandemic started.
Yeah.
Ransomware just took off. And the reason that happened is because when personnel went home to start working home from remotely, it got easier for hackers to hack passwords, because most people were logging in from home on a system that they own, connecting to the company through the server, to the company server through whatever protocol or means that the company had in place, and most of them are pretty solid. But the system that we don't manage, or you as a network person or security person have no control of, that's a vulnerable area, because a hacker may already be on that home-based system. And so with inflation and now the thing that took off in Ukraine, the attention span to staying secure has now been redirected a little bit. Gas prices are going up. So, just locking in on the same level of security practices and principles that you usually use, they start to diminish a little bit. You start to kind of get a little weaker in certain areas. Things that you were paying really close attention to, and you're now paying close attention to your bank account, your money and the gas prices and the war. And so you may be logging into a computer and watching something that's happening in Ukraine, and somebody over here is standing over your shoulder watching you as you
watching what you're entering.
And then if you go to the gas station and you get ready to pump gas and you use your debit card or something, and you're punching in your code, now they have a screen on the gas tank with a screen on it showing you the TV, showing you the war, showing you what's going on in Ukraine.
The little TV screen.
Now you're standing there
distracted,
punching in your code. And somebody may be standing there looking at you because you're watching this. I mean, there's so many things that's causing the hackers to be, free to do whatever they want to do. I do feel that people are more stressed. with things
Definitely.
that happen. And so when you're more stressed, your attention span is lower.
This is true. Yeah, you're not as conscious and observant as you normally are because your mind is elsewhere.
Right.
So, yeah. So hackers take advantage of that.
They take advantage.
Cell phone security. Can our cell phones use the same software, say Norton or McAfee, on your cell phones as you do on your personal computer?
They have some mobile versions.
Okay.
Most of those companies do. But cell phone security is a whole nother beast. It's another level of complexity.
Okay.
Because they have an app out there called Stalkerware.
Okay.
That app allows anyone that is successful with pushing that to your phone to stalk you. And wherever you go, they can on the back end they're recording things and and so it's illegal. It's an illegal software because stalking is illegal.
Right.
It's something that you have to report to the police if it
happens.
And then another thing with cell phone security, there's so many ways that cell phones are being breached. When you take your phone to get it serviced, or if you go to AT&T or Verizon or whomever your provider is, often they'll have you unlock your phone and hand it to them.
Yeah.
Well, I know someone that started getting stalked by a person that worked on her phone.
Oh my!
After she left.
Wow.
Because she handed her phone to him,
Exactly.
and now he has the keys to the kingdom on her phone and resolved her issue, whatever that was.
Right.
But then she ended up having to file charges on this person to get him to leave her alone. So.
So you think he installed the?
I don't think he did that. I just think he got her information while he had her phone.
Gotcha.
And started calling her and different things.
Got your phone number, and
So,
address, and things like that.
So phones are being hacked. You can tell if you grab your phone and you notice. I think when you had your issue with your phone, if you notice the performance will change on your phone, that would be the first sign that something's not right.
Correct.
And then if you notice there's apps on your phone that you didn't download, you're like, what are these apps?
Right.
That'll be a trigger that something
that's a red flag.
Right, and you can also look at your contact list.
Okay.
Often you'll notice they're starting to show unknown. All these numbers of people that you've had in your contact list.
Okay.
For years, maybe.
Yeah.
But for some reason now it shows unknown. That maybe somebody has reached your phone and done some things.
Okay.
And people are calling you and telling you they're getting messages from you that you didn't send. So there's ways to protect your phone. They do have some apps out there that you could apply to your phone. But you just have to make sure it comes from a reputable app store or wherever.
Right.
And do your research.
Is there a way to, even when you're surfing online or when you're getting an app off of, say, the app store, when you go to your app store, those apps out there have been scrubbed. They should be accurate and safe. Is that right?
Right.
But if someone goes to, say, for example, Google and try to search for cell phone protection, that might be a red flag, right?
You got to look for you got to make sure you're on a secure site, first of all. You'll notice that by HTTPS, if it doesn't have the X with the lock on it, and then the website, that's not a secure site.
So the
it
S,
doesn't have that. And so,
HTTPS
with the lock on it.
With the lock.
Right.
That means it's a secure site, you guys.
And then before you download it, just do some reviews on it and see what people are saying. You'll be able to tell if people are having a problem with the app.
Yeah.
And it'll have reviews and ratings.
Okay.
You can look at the ratings. If it's a 2-star app, don't download that app.
Don't download it.
You know, so,
right. Okay. That's definitely a red flag. Okay. And when you talked a little bit about, I think you mentioned, I don't think you mentioned malware yet, but differences between malware, spyware, virus protection. There's a lot of interchangeable terms out there.
Right. Malware.
What do we get, and what's the differences between those?
Malware is more of a malicious. Spyware and malware are cousins.
Okay.
If I could put it that way.
Okay.
Spyware is just to kind of get in your system, and whoever is just looking around, they're not going to really do anything to harm your system. They're just kind of snooping around with spyware. They do have applications for spyware, but spyware is not really a big thing anymore. But malware ransomware is a form of malware. And you see what happens with ransomware. When ransomware attacks happen, they take hostage of your everything. Your whole data system, they lock it down. And companies are now given a time frame to pay ransom, and it's millions in most cases.
Does that happen a lot though?
It happens. It's last year, 2021. Out of all of the insurance claims, cyber insurance claims, 75% were ransomware claims. So there's 7,000 ransomware attacks weekly. The only ones you hear about are the big ones. But they don't discriminate. They attack small companies, nonprofit companies. There's a library that got attacked that in a town of 200 people. They had an electronic-based microfiche system that they locked it down, and they asked them to pay a ransom before they were released. Now, this was a small library. Most people don't even go to the library anymore because everything is on the internet. So they were forced to be able to open a library up. They were forced to either pay the ransom, so they would unlock their system, or get an insurance company or someone to come in and pay it so that they could get their system back up. So malware is more of a malicious method of hacking. And spyware is a little different. And viruses, some viruses are Trojan viruses, and you have like worms. And this is where cyber insurance came from, was the evolution of worm viruses, which started around 2013 because that's when databases became a big thing. The server technology went from local servers, where you had like 5 or 6 servers in a server room, and you had your accounting server, then you had your print server, you had your file server, and then you might have had a server over here that was the email server or the web server. Well, that has all changed to where things are centralized, and there are database servers that do a lot of these things, and so most of the passwords and applications are hosted in one central area. So you start having worm viruses that came in, and they were able to travel through one system into the next. So those are still around, but they're not as common now as malware, because malware and ransomware are using code, a different level of code. And they're getting into your system that's under the GUI interface of your file system.
How do we catch these hackers? How many? Is there a percentage of?
Some are being caught.
Are they being caught, and what's happening to them when they're getting caught, and how are they getting caught?
The FBI is they're taking it very serious. They just caught a guy in June of 2021. He took down about 70% of the of this company's servers across the United States. This company was the number one company that provided, it was called Kaspersky. And they provided not Kaspersky, Kaseya. Kaseya, they provided a help desk system, to big companies. So he was able to hack that company, hold them ransom, and force them to pay like $700 million. So that's a lot of money. When you think about that, that's a lot of money. But they caught this guy. This guy was in, he was somewhere over in Europe. They caught him in a small apartment with terminals, or monitors. And so the FBI was able to recover about 50% of the money, because they use Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. And all that. So they have this person, and they are, so they take it serious. So he's been brought up on charges. The FBI really take malware serious.
Good.
So
It needs to be taken seriously. In your professional opinion, though, can we do better as far as catching these hackers?
So. Yeah, I think so.
Right.
I think companies have to get on top of the education side of viruses or threats.
Yeah,
And now we use a lot of the LMS type technology to keep the learning in a company up to speed in most areas. But most companies don't have a cyber module within their learning management system, or someone in the company that's a cyber expert.
Got it.
That can do assessments on the company to find gaps and holes in your system or in your practices. There needs to be audits done on the company, and these are things that you can do at home on yourself. You can self-assess your home environment, because one way things are happening in the home environment is if you think about it, most of us have a wireless connection that we allow people to come to our house, and they may ask you, "Hey man, what's your password?
I'm trying to get on your Wi-Fi."
So you'll give it to them.
Yeah.
Well, that router, you can actually, there's a password on that router, another password, there's an admin password that you can get into that yourself and change that, just like you change your name on you can get in there and you can create a separate guest network at home for your personnel, for your family, or people that come to your house.
To use instead of your
main one.
Instead of
giving them your main.
I had no idea.
Yeah, you can do it, and most people don't.
I mean, I know it's possible for businesses because I have that here,
but
I didn't know.
Most people don't know you can do that. You can do it at home. Set up a guest, and that way, when people are no longer at your house, they're not walking around with your passwords on their phone or iPad or whatever. And if that thing get breached somewhere else, and a hacker sees it or your password, and they just start spoofing networks, and they eventually, over time, may come across your network.
But you're just increasing your risk of getting hacked.
So
go back in and
we can do that.
Okay, got it.
Companies need to have an incident response plan in place, where when something does happen, you're not running around and scrambling and trying to figure out what to do.
Right.
You already have a plan in place.
Yeah.
Or who you're going to communicate what happened to, because you really have to be careful when you get breached. If you are breached, you don't want to have a public relations issue, because you allow the media or someone to find out that you have a breach going. And now it's in the news before you can even figure out what happened.
Or get it resolved.
Right. So you don't want to end up having to pull, maintenance on, trying to clean up what happened. So you really need to have a good plan in place that who, what, when, where, and how.
Yes.
Who's going to help you lock down whatever is still on the network that's not affected by the breach. You want to make sure that's isolated off and cut. I mean, so it's just
cut the cord.
There's a lot of things that have to be done. You may have to get a forensics person to come in and take a look and see, what happened. And that'll cost you an arm and a leg.
Yes, it will.
So if you don't already have an incident response plan in place with a consultant,
you can
and somebody already lined up,
right?
If you have to call them while the event is going on, you're in trouble.
Exactly. So have that in place.
Right.
Okay. Before we go today, I want to talk about another topic that is running rampant, and I think it has to do with everything we've discussed thus far, which is identity theft. So if we had, and that's probably a whole different show, but if we had all of our I's dotted and our T's crossed in the area of securing ourselves from an individual perspective, okay, I'm talking individuals right now, then that can help us decrease the chance of identity theft, right?
Right. Identity theft is also a big thing. People take documentation and just throw it in the trash.
Yep.
Prescription bottles, they don't peel the labels off.
Right.
Just throw the bottle in the trash.
Yes.
bills calling, like, I'm not paying this bill, throw it in the trash.
Yes.
And everything that you don't shred is an avenue for someone to get some information about you.
Right.
Just because it doesn't have maybe your social security number on it, the way technology is today, they don't really need your social security number to find out things about you.
Yeah.
You know, the social security number really is a contract between you and the government.
Correct.
That's why that number was ever created. So, but your date of birth, you know, and then most people can kind of figure out, you know what, I guarantee you right now, everybody in the room, if you log into Facebook, you can find out what school they went to and what year they graduated. That's going to tell you what year they were born. And once you get that, and you got their name,
right,
you can just start surfing and doing everything else.
Right.
So,
oh my gosh,
we do have to. Identity theft is a big thing. They do have some programs out there that you can look into or invest in to try to stay like one that I think is a good idea is when you're dealing with your credit file, make sure you keep your credit locked down unless you're applying for credit.
Unless you're applying, right.
And even if you're applying for credit somewhere, still have it locked down so that they have to call you and say, I mean, I just went through that. I applied for some credit a few weeks ago, and I'm in the store, and I keep things locked down. I forgot I had locked down my credit.
They denied you, right?
They didn't deny me, but they were like, we gotta get somebody. You gotta make a phone call.
Okay, because that happened to me.
It did get. I don't know if it was denied or whatever.
That's what triggered me. I'm like, what? Oh, no, I didn't know nothing got denied.
I remember. Oh yeah, I locked my credit card.
Yeah,
so,
same thing happened to me.
They do a vetting process to make sure that you are the person applying for credit.
Right.
And that's another way to make sure that you're protecting your identity and everything. You actually want that.
Yeah.
You want them to have to call you if somebody's applying for credit.
Right. Because if it's somebody else, then you got a problem.
I had an incident about a month ago. I looked at my credit account and my credit card, and my credit card had been used at an IMAX movie theater in Kentucky.
Oh wow.
And I was like, maybe somebody ordered an online movie is the first thing I started thinking. And I was like, wait a minute, but this is in Kentucky. So when I called the bank, they were like, no, somebody physically used it at a location in
Kentucky.
So I had the credit card with me.
Right.
You know, it's just, I'm not sure how they were able to pull that off, but somebody actually had access to
your information. That happened to me too on one of my cards, and they called, and because I have fraud protection on pretty much everything I have, so they have to call me too, and they said, are you trying to buy 5 big screen TVs? And this was like at 5 a.m. in the morning, right? Yeah. So I was like, no, I'm So they called me, same thing. So canceled all the cards and that was associated with that particular account and had to get new ones reissued. But there's a lot of one-off things going on.
I did mention that I need to mention is that if you can get a firewall in place at home, get you a firewall. If you have a business and you have a firewall, it needs to be configured correctly. And what a firewall does is it protects you. It protects your private network from the public network and public internet. It's actually a wall or a barrier that you have in place.
Yes.
And it's configured with rules to allow or disallow traffic.
Okay.
And so you would want something like that at home or in your business because you wouldn't want anyone at work or your place of business being able to just go anywhere they want to on your network.
Exactly.
Because that's that also hackers watch that type of thing also.
Right. So does a firewall come with virus protection if you order it through or subscribe to it, or is that something separate?
No, it's separate. Firewall is a software or hardware appliance.
Okay.
It can even be a server.
Okay.
And it's not it really doesn't have anything to do with virus protection. Your virus protection is a different suite within itself.
Okay.
And so you need to have some form of virus protection. But now what's out, the latest thing in virus protection is what we call next generation antivirus.
Okay.
The current antivirus before next generation use a what's classified a update system.
Okay.
So you update your antivirus, and you're protected from whatever viruses that came out yesterday.
Okay, I got you.
You updated today.
Yeah, I
And
got
then,
you.
and so you update every 30 days, and everything that came out 30 days prior to that update, you're covered.
Okay.
So that's why you have to constantly be updated.
Good. Okay.
Next generation antivirus is a machine learning behavioral type antivirus program. So it does like what we call a 0-day protection. So it doesn't matter what come out today. The way it operates is it will be ready for it and it will protect you.
Got it.
So even if you miss an update, it'll still do it.
It'll still, okay. That's good. That's good. So it's good that you cover firewalls, because that was my last question. So that's great. That is great. You got it. You are right on time. You are right on target. So in ending the show, I wanted to give you the opportunity. So if there's individuals out there that want to get into this space, they want to get into the cybersecurity space, information technology, and security, what words of advice do you have for them?
My advice would be to just make sure you are in an environment where you may be working. If you're not working in an environment, a technical environment, try to start there. Do some maybe tech support or role somewhere, or just somewhere where you can piggyback off of someone that's doing security or cybersecurity. Education, you got to get educated, because it's not just something you can walk into, and that's another reason some companies are a little weak with security, because they don't have a security person in place. They have people that are sharp at technology and up to speed.
But that's not their forte.
But cybersecurity is a whole nother area. So you got to go get some certs in that area and get educated.
Right.
Because you have to understand certain levels of coding. Coding is difficult.
Yeah. So education is key.
Education is key, and infrastructure. Just learn. You got to learn some technical strategies.
Right.
To be able to, kind of maneuver in the area of security. So
right. Okay.
It will be, I don't want to question anyone's integrity, but it would be hard to leave a non-technical area and walk into a cybersecurity type environment or role.
Right. Yes. Okay. So I think in my personal opinion, in adding to that, is they have to have a passion for that industry as well.
Yes.
You have to be passionate about that.
You have to be passionate.
Yeah, and then education is key. So get the proper education, learn all you can in the specific area that you're trying to go in, and make sure it's an area that you're passionate about.
Right.
Because that is a very important role.
That's right.
Yeah, it's a very important role.
That's right.
So, okay, guys, that wraps up our segment on cybersecurity and helping us to identify or eliminate the vulnerabilities that we have. So we want you guys to stay safe out there. Make sure you do everything in your power, businesses as well as individuals, to protect yourselves. And I wanted to say in ending that the episode was sponsored by Instagram. Look her up at the Divine Esthetician. Okay, she specializes in waxing and eyelash extensions. All right, at the Divine Esthetician. Thank you guys so very much, Boss Fam Nation. We love you. We're signing off from Real Talk Houston Studios, and this is Carlotta B. Thank you guys so much.